The Indiana Fever may have walked out of Crypto.com arena with an 87-78 victory over the Los Angeles Sparks, but the final score hides just how shaky and uncomfortable this performance really was. What was supposed to be an easy bounce-back game against the Sparks team that finished last in the Western Conference last season instead exposed several serious issues within Indiana's roster and execution. The Fever committed 24 turnovers, struggled badly from three-point range, made questionable coaching decisions, and nearly watched a double-digit lead disappear in the fourth quarter. If not for late-game heroics from Clark and Kelsey Mitchell, the conversation surrounding this team today would look completely different. While fans may celebrate the win, analysts are already noticing the warning signs. Indiana did not resemble a championship contender on Wednesday night. They looked vulnerable, disorganized, and inconsistent against a weaker opponent. The Fever survived rather than dominated, raising growing concerns about sloppy execution, unreliable shooting, late-game discipline, and unresolved rotation problems. The most alarming part is that this was supposed to be one of the easier games on schedule, and if these issues continue, much tougher opponents could expose them even further as the season progresses.
Whoa! That got a little hairy at the end of this game. At the end of this game, it got a little hairy, and wow, Caitlin Clark kind of saved the day here in the last quarter of this game. But even with that, in the second half, the Indiana Fever had trouble scoring points. I mean, no doubt about it. They got a win, but the Sparks, they couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat.
Despite the chaos and inconsistency throughout the game, there were still several bright spots for the Indiana Fever against the Los Angeles Sparks. Even while struggling from perimeter, Caitlin Clark once again proved why she is already considered one of the most dangerous playmakers in basketball. Clark finished with 24 points, 9 assists, 4 rebounds, and 2 steals in just 31 minutes, while shooting an efficient 52.9% from the field and a perfect 5 for 5 from the free throw line. More importantly, she completely controlled the offense for long stretches of the first half, delivering passes and creating opportunities that very few players in the WNBA are capable of seeing, let alone executing. She consistently found teammates in transition, threaded passes through tight defensive windows, and kept Indiana's offense alive whenever the game threatened to spiral out of control. Another major positive came from Sophie Cunningham, who responded perfectly after a disastrous scoreless opener against the Dallas Wings. In Los Angeles, Cunningham looked like an entirely different player, bringing aggression, confidence, and much-needed energy to the floor. She scored 12 points in 27 minutes, shooting 5 of 9 from the field and knocking down 2 three-pointers, while finishing with the best plus-minus rating on the entire Fever roster at +4. This was the version of Cunningham Indiana desperately needs moving forward, a confident wing player willing to take and make important shots rather than disappearing offensively. Kelsey Mitchell also continued her outstanding start to the season, once again carrying a massive portion of the defensive load. Mitchell scored 23 points on 9 of 17 shooting, while connecting on 3 shots from beyond the arc. Through the first 2 games of the season, she is averaging an incredible 26.5 points per game and has arguably been the offensive engine, keeping the Fever competitive. Her scoring ability continues to stabilize the team whenever the offense becomes stagnant or disorganized. Indiana also received valuable contributions from Monique Billings, who brought toughness and physicality to the starting lineup. Billings finished with 9 points, 8 rebounds, and efficient shooting from the floor, while providing the kind of gritty interior presence the Fever have badly needed. Her energy in the paint helped balance the offense and gave Indiana some much-needed rebounding support. However, while those individual performances stood out as genuine positives, they also masked deeper problems within the team. Once the excitement of the victory fades, the reality becomes much harder to ignore. Beneath the surface of this 87-78 win is a team that still looks fundamentally flawed in several critical areas.
She still cannot find her three-point shot. I don't know what's going on. I think that's something that's consistent, in my opinion, with an injury of some sort, whether it's lower body, whether it's a back, whatever it is. By the way, Lexi Hull now, wearing a back brace. I was in the Ben Daniel podcast chat tonight. We were joking. They're going to end up having the whole team in a brace if we're not careful.
The biggest concern coming out of Indiana's win over the Los Angeles Sparks is clearly the early shooting struggles of Caitlin Clark from three-point range. Against Los Angeles, Clark shot just 1 for 7 from beyond the arc, a disappointing 14.3%. And through the first 2 games of the season, she is only 3 for 16 from deep overall. That is surprising for a player known for elite perimeter shooting, especially after shooting 40% during international qualifiers and spending the offseason working with renowned shooting coach Brandon Payne to fine-tune her mechanics. Right now, her outside shot does not appear completely comfortable or fully in rhythm. Her trademark step-back 3 has repeatedly fallen short, often hitting the front rim, something that can sometimes indicate fatigue, timing issues, or lingering lower body discomfort early in the season. The encouraging sign for Indiana is that Clark is still dominating games as a playmaker and floor general, controlling the offense and creating opportunities for teammates at an elite level. However, the Fever offense becomes significantly more dangerous when her perimeter shooting is consistently falling, and until that happens, opposing offenses will continue trying to pressure her aggressively. Turnovers are also becoming a growing concern for Indiana. Clark committed 6 turnovers against Los Angeles after recording 5 in the season opener against Dallas, giving her 11 turnovers in just 2 games as the team's primary ball handler. To be fair, many of those mistakes came while attempting difficult, high-level passes against defenders who were aggressively jumping passing lanes and pressuring Indiana's pick-and-roll sets. These were not simply careless or lazy errors. Still, at the professional level, execution and ball security are critical. Against weaker or rebuilding teams, Indiana may be able to survive those mistakes, but against elite championship contenders like the Las Vegas Aces or the New York Liberty, those turnovers can instantly turn into fast break points going the other direction. As the Fever continue adjusting to the speed, physicality, and pressure of the early WNBA season, ball security is quickly becoming one of the most important storylines surrounding this team.
Yeah, got a little scary there at the end. Don't let anybody try to spin this, that this was some great defensive performance, because it was not. If they do, they are gaslighting you. They are absolutely gaslighting you. At one point, I saw the Sparks were 13 for 37 shooting the ball. Now, they scored a bunch of points in the last,
While discussing Indiana's inconsistencies, it is impossible to ignore the growing questions surrounding head coach Stephanie White and her rotation decisions. One of the most controversial situations on the roster right now involves Chatori Walker-Kimbrough, who received another DNP, coach's decision for the second straight regular season game. Walker-Kimbrough did not play a single minute and remained on the bench despite Indiana continuing to struggle with offensive consistency and bench production. What makes the decision even more surprising is how impressive she looked during the preseason against the New York Liberty. She scored 18 points and arguably looked like the most reliable scoring option coming off the Fever bench. She appeared explosive, comfortable within the offensive system, and capable of providing exactly the kind of veteran scoring spark Indiana desperately needs whenever the starters rest. Given the team's ongoing offensive instability and turnover issues, many observers are now questioning why a proven scorer like Walker-Kimbrough remains completely outside the rotation.
Let's make sure we do not get confused with that, folks. Wow. Final 87-78. Fever scored 20 and 19 in the third and fourth quarters, respectively. Gave up 26 in the fourth quarter of this game. And escaped in LA.
When the regular season began, Chatori Walker-Kimbrough was suddenly removed from the rotation entirely, and that decision becomes even more questionable when examining Indiana's bench production against the Los Angeles Sparks. While the Fever's starting lineup scored 67 points, the bench contributed only 20. Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell combined for 47 points by themselves, while the remainder of the active roster combined for only 40 points total. That is an enormous offensive burden for 2 players carrying the team only 2 games into the season. Meanwhile, Indiana's second unit, including Lexi Hull, Makia Herbert-Harrigan, DeWanna Bonner, Natasha Howard, Raven Johnson, and Mia Hines-Allen struggled offensively and collectively shot just 6 of 17 from the field. That does not necessarily mean the roster lacks talent, but it does highlight a bench unit still searching for a reliable offensive identity and consistent scoring production. This is exactly why the Walker-Kimbrough situation has become such a major talking point. While Indiana's offense stalled repeatedly, especially during stretches in the second half, one of the team's most productive preseason scorers remained glued to the bench. As the season progresses and the level of competition becomes tougher, the biggest question is whether this current rotation strategy is truly sustainable for a team with championship ambitions.
Do it.
At the end of the half, after they went to half, got into it with the ref, got teed up. Got teed up in this game. So that was interesting. And then, guys, we got to see this. Here's Caitlin with the 3. Look, the catch and shoot might have.
As concerning as Indiana's bench struggles have been, an even bigger issue emerged against the Los Angeles Sparks: the complete disappearance of franchise center Aaliyah Boston. Just months after signing a massive 4-year contract extension, Boston is expected to be the defensive anchor of the team and the dominant interior presence alongside Caitlin Clark in the pick-and-roll game. She looked excellent in the season opener against the Dallas Wings, shooting efficiently and contributing as both a scorer and playmaker. However, against Los Angeles, Boston was almost invisible offensively. In 22 minutes of action, she attempted only 3 field goals and failed to make any of them, finishing 0 for 3 from the floor. Her only points came from 4 made free throws, while she added 7 rebounds, 0 assists, and eventually fouled out with just over 3 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter. For a player considered one of the cornerstones of the franchise, that type of performance is deeply concerning, especially in a game that remained competitive late into the final period. There are understandable factors behind the struggles. Boston is still working her way back into peak condition after a lower leg issue caused her to miss the entire preseason, and some rust is expected early in the year. Still, Indiana does not have enough margin for error to survive games where both Boston and Clark struggle offensively at the same time. The Fever barely escaped with a win over the Sparks, and performances like this against elite opponents, such as the New York Liberty, could quickly turn into blowout losses. Indiana also continues to receive almost no offensive production from Lexi Hull, who has clearly not looked fully healthy while recovering from a hamstring injury. Hull played only 12 minutes against Los Angeles and scored just 1 point, leaving her with only 1 total point across the first 2 games of the season. That is alarming considering she shot 47% from 3-point range last year and was expected to provide the spacing necessary to open driving lanes for Clark and the rest of the offense. Right now, Hull's limited mobility and restricted minutes have made her virtually invisible offensively, allowing opposing defenses to collapse into the paint and challenge Indiana to beat them from the perimeter.
9 of 17, 1 of 7 from 3-point range, 9 assists, 24 points. For Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, 23 points, 9 of 17, 3 of 9 from 3-point range. Sophie added in some valuable points tonight. She had 7 rebounds, 12 points. Monique Billings, 8 rebounds, 9 points in this ball game. And Kelsey Plum had 25 for the LA Sparks. Whoa. I got to tell you.
So what is the real takeaway from Indiana's 87-78 victory over the Los Angeles Sparks? Despite the win, this was far from a convincing performance, and the final score should not distract from the deeper issues that were exposed throughout the game. The Fever did not dominate defensively in the second half, as some post-game reactions suggested. In reality, much of Los Angeles' offensive failure came from its own reckless and disorganized play. The Sparks missed open layups, committed careless mistakes, and struggled to execute basic offensive possessions. At one point in the third quarter, Los Angeles was shooting just 13 for 37 from the field and repeatedly handed away opportunities with poor decision-making. Indiana did not look like a suffocating defensive powerhouse. They simply looked slightly more composed than a struggling Sparks team that largely beat itself. When you examine the Fever to the first 2 games of the 2026 season, the profile does not yet resemble that of a true championship contender. They opened the season with a loss to the Dallas Wings, and then narrowly escaped against the Los Angeles Sparks despite multiple stretches of sloppy basketball. Right now, Indiana's success depends almost entirely on heavy-minute, high-scoring performances from Clark and Kelsey Mitchell, while the rest of the offensive system continues to struggle for consistency. The bench production remains unreliable. The turnover problems are becoming a serious liability, and the team's overall three-point shooting has not looked nearly sharp enough. While a wins still count in the standings and the Fever now sit at 1-1 on the season, the larger concerns surrounding the roster have not disappeared. The pressure now falls heavily on head coach Stephanie White and the coaching staff to make adjustments quickly. Indiana needs Clark's perimeter shooting to return to elite form, needs Chatori Walker-Kimbrough properly integrated into the rotation to stabilize the second unit, and needs Aaliyah Boston performing consistently like the franchise cornerstone she is expected to be. Otherwise, the warning signs visible early in the season could grow into major problems once the schedule becomes more difficult. The WNBA season is a long marathon, and stronger opponents will study this game film closely. If Indiana continues playing this inconsistently, the dream of championship contention could quickly turn into disappointment far earlier than expected.